So before we move on, I want to create another method because let's go to our list. We have some contacts that I want to remove. So let's create a remove function so we'll be able to create another method and see how that works. Okay, so I want to add a button on this contacts list. So you'll be able to click in a remove button and remove this contact. And to that, I will go again in the Tailwind website. We are using these staked lists. So I will go until the end. Yeah, we are using, no, not this one. We are using, yeah, this component, I think. So I will see the code. And what I want to copy is just this. That is a link actually. So I will copy this. I will go to our contact list and I will add to here. And instead of view, it will be called remove. So let's see how it is in our screen. Yeah, it looks good. So I will create a function, and when I click on this button, I will call it. It will be contact, well, remove contact, I think is better. Remove contact, and I will create it right here. So const remove contact, it will be error function. We need to be able to remove the contact, we need its ID. So I will receive from here, and I will pass it from here. So we need to define an error function, and we need to pass, this is the variable that you created and we are iterating over, if you remember. So I will pass person.id. So when I click on this, I will call this function. And this function, what I want to do is to call a Meteor method. So how we do that? Again, meteor.call. And yeah, we haven't defined this function yet, but I will call it contacts.remove. And I will pass object with contact ID. And then this will be the ID that we received. And we also need to do the same here. If we go back to the, let me close this and this. If you go back to the contact form, to be sure that everything went right, we have to define a callback and show an error message, a success message. But I won't do this at this time. I will leave it that for you so we can move quicker. But I will just define the method and call it and see if it is working. So, okay, Meteor call, contacts remove, contact ID. This one looks good. Let's go to the contacts methods now. And I will define a new method here. So how we do that? We can just pass another function. We can just define another function. And its name will be contacts.remove. We need to receive an object with a contact ID this way. And how we remove it? Well, we just use the contacts collection. At this point, this is just MongoDB API. So we call contacts collection.remove, and we pass the contact ID that we just received. Okay, let's see if it is working. Let's go back to the screen, and I will try to remove this one that is blank. So click remove. Yeah, it is working. There is one thing, because this is a link. If you noticed, it's scrolling up our screen to the top. So I don't want to do that. We can solve in a few ways, but I will just receive the event from here. I will also pass the event to this method. And I will just, okay, and also here, yeah, let's call it event, right? And on here, we have to pass the event and also here to our function. And we will just call a function name prevent default. We will just call this function and we will not be scrolling up anymore. So let's test it. We will refresh the page just to be sure that the HTML is loaded. And I will remove the thread too. So remove, yep, and it is working fine. So I removed this one as well. And now it looks good. We have the names and emails and the pictures. So it is working fine, but there's still something we have to do to improve our code and to be safer. So I mentioned before that we should not trust the data that we receive from the client side, and we are not validating this data. So the minimum validation that we should do is to check if the types are correct. So Meteor has something to help us doing that, and I will actually import Meteor right here. This is optional, but I like to import it just to be clear from where this is coming. And we have a function that we will use it that is called check. That is from Meteor check. So this is a package that is included in our app by default. And what it does is enable us to check the type of the variables. So we can check that the name is a string. And also I'm pressing here Command D so I can duplicate this line. We will also check the email, the image URL, and also here in the contacts remove, we should check if the contact ID is also a string. So this could work for any JavaScript type. So we could check other types, like if it's a number or if it's a Boolean. So we have those options, but for these ones, string is the correct type. So this way, if the contact ID is not a string, we will receive an error. And how can we test that? We could just force passing something here on the contacts list. So instead of passing this ID, we could force passing a number. And of course, that's not the case, but you cannot trust the client side. So you might receive something wrong. So if we go to the browser and try to remove, I will remove Mary, the last one. And if I click on here, we got an error. So we have a 400 error because we are passing a wrong type of data. So I remove this and leave it this way because it will be a string. And now it should work. Yep, it is working. So don't forget to implement the callback functions here so you can handle the errors like we did in the contacts form.